Us on this otherwise weather-wise dismal day. I hope some of you have enjoyed being in and appreciating the sounds of nature today while you were inside, maybe meditating. Today, this is Wisdom Class, and we thank you all for coming. We're going to begin with our guest, Pamela Kirkpatrick, who is going to do a brief meditation to help us tune in a bit to ourselves and to our environments. And then Pamela's who is a sound healer, and you all saw her write-up, her bio, and she's going to lead us in discussion. Save your questions for the end. There will be a time at the end where questions are welcome. And again, I thank you all for coming. I want to thank Pamela for leading us. And Pamela, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. So everybody's got a lot going on in their life, whether you're sequestered at home, whether you're venturing out. So what I'd like to do is begin by kind of bringing us all present into this moment. And what I'd like to ask you to do is to please bring your hands together in prayer pose, your palms together at the heart center or at the throat, wherever you feel right. And just allow your eyes to close down for a moment. Inhale deeply through your nose, inhaling peace and love and light, and exhale through your mouth, exhaling joy and laughter, radiant good health, kindness, compassion, and strength. And I'd like to just take us through a few breaths for a moment. What we're going to do is we're going to inhale in 3 parts. And what we're going to do together is we're going to inhale 3 sips of breath, going, and then we're going to suspend the breath for the equivalent of 3 sips. And then we're going to exhale through the nose in 3 counts. And we're going to hold that breath out or suspend it out for 3. We're just going to do like maybe 3 or 4 breaths like that. So let's go ahead, eyes closed or open, whatever you feel right. Hands in prayer pose. You may want to take your thumbs and press it into the area right at the sternum where the heart is, just to feel the strength and the warmth of your own hands. And let's go ahead and begin. We're going to sip in 3, suspend 3, exhale 3, and hold out 3. And wherever you are in your breathing, go ahead and complete the cycle. And then just begin breathing normally, inhaling deeply and exhaling completely. And I'd like to invite you to begin rubbing your palms together like you're making an old-fashioned campfire with a stick, creating some heat in your hands. And I'd like, as you create this heat in your hands, I'd like you to imagine invoking the smell of nature, like the smell right before it rains when the ozone is in the air, or when you're deep in a forest and you smell the earth all around you, or the smell of a rose or a gardenia. Go ahead, and when you've got some nice heat in your hands, I invite you to cup your hands over your nose and mouth and inhale deeply, inhaling this delicious aroma of the rain or the earth or the rose. And at the top of the next breath, I invite you to exhale completely and inhale now to the top of the head or the crown chakra. And imagine that your breath is a rainbow-colored beam of light. And we're going to send this breath arcing up and out from the top of our head, connecting with Grandfather Sky and Grandmother Moon, with the celestial stars that shine, with all that is, all that ever was, all that will be, and the miracles and wonders that are yet to unfold. Inhale deeply and exhale completely, feeling your connection to the all that is. And when you feel ready, I invite you to bring this breath, this rainbow-colored breath, back from the stars and the moon and the sky, back to the top of the head. And now I invite you to bring this breath to your third eye point, sometimes called the spirit eye, that's on your forehead between your eyebrows, into your throat that gives you voice, into your heart where love is source, into your belly. Let your belly be round and soft like a baby's belly. The belly holds the wisdom of the soul. And now down to the base of the spine or the root chakra. And here I invite you to picture this breath like a rainbow-colored root of a living tree, an ancient tree. And we're going to send these roots down our legs, out the bottom of our feet, breaking through the topsoil, moving into the very heart of the planet, where we actually meet Mother Earth. And Mother Earth invites us to wrap these rainbow-colored roots around her heart, where it's nestled in the heart of Mother Earth, and begin to allow ourselves to be gently rocked, like a newborn baby, safe, loved, wanted, protected. Everything is possible here. And when you feel ready, kindly thank Mother Earth for allowing you to be rocked like a newborn baby, and gently nestle her heart back in its spot in the center of the earth, and begin working your way back up from the heart of the planet, moving through the soil, breaking through the topsoil, up the bottom of the feet, up the legs, to the base of the spine, into the belly, into the heart, into the throat, into the third eye, up to the crown, and out to the ethers. And as I play the root chakra bowl, I'll stop speaking for a moment so that we can hear the sound of the root. And the root is the source of survival. It is our basic instinct to survive. And many of us feel our root is really, really being challenged right now. But as I play the root bowl, I invite you to continue breathing. And I invite you to breathe in a circular breath. And imagine that this breath is creating a new world, a universe. And the center of this new universe is your precious open heart, like a beautiful lotus blossom, open and ready to receive. And as you breathe, you connect heaven and earth through your precious open heart. And now I invite you to bring yourself up from the root at the base of the spine, up from the roots of our ancestors, into your beautiful heart, that beautiful open lotus blossom in the center of the world we're creating with our breath. Open your heart. Let your spirit fly. Open up your precious heart. Time for our souls to fly. I am alright. Take me through the darkest night. I am alright. I am peace and love and light. Continue breathing. I invite you now to subtly and slowly bring your breath up to the top of the head or the crown, and picture your breath, your heart, your soul rising up, connecting with God, with the divine, with source, with whatever you choose, the all that is, the one being, the one family that we all come from. Inhale deeply. Take me away, take me away, sailing across the ocean, take me away. I love you, take me away. Slowly and gently begin to bring yourself back into your body. Begin to rub your palms together like we did when we began, creating some heat and friction. And when you've got some nice heat going in your hands, I invite you to bring them, place them on your eyes or your heart, wherever you feel called, and feel the warmth of your own heart, your own hands, your own soul, your ability to heal. And when you feel ready, let your eyes flutter open. So it's been a very interesting time. You know, I think if you've read the little blurb about me, I'm the daughter of a Holocaust survivor. Don't let the Kirkpatrick name fool you. I married a Scotsman a long time ago, but there's been a lot going on, you know, and my 92-year-old mama is still with me, and she's been talking to me about how similar things are going on that remind her of what was going on right before they were taken to concentration camp. And we were really talking the other day about both my sister and I have always been very philanthropic. We've done a lot of work with nonprofits and working with special needs children and people, oftentimes that were marginalized, because one of the things that we were raised to believe is that we're all God's children. Doesn't matter what color your skin, what color your eyes, the religion you believe in or don't believe in, where you are in the economic structure, that all everybody really wants is to love and be loved. And so we had been talking a lot, because I was the founder of an organization that I'm proud to say still exists in New York City. It's called God's Love We Deliver. And in the 80s, when AIDS first came on to the picture, people didn't know. There was a time of fear, much like what we're experiencing right now. We didn't know what caused it, how it could be transmitted. And I had the opportunity to open a kitchen where we made food for people who were homebound with AIDS. And in those days, this is pre any drugs. This is when people thought you could get it from being in the same room, where they were saying don't hug children because they might have AIDS. The HIV positive babies, the babies that were being born from HIV positive mothers. And, I was asked to build this kitchen, and I couldn't, I didn't, what am I going to feed people? I don't even know. So I went to, of course, Jewish comfort food, because that's where I came from, and, began to cook beautiful meals like that were colorful and fresh, and people that were quote unquote dying got up off their deathbeds and they were miraculously living. And so my mom and I were talking about, because I haven't, even though she's 5 minutes away from me, I haven't been able to see her because she lives in an independent living facility, and they've been on a very severe lockdown. And so we've had the opportunity to talk on the phone, but that's pretty much it. And she called me, or I called her. We were really upset the day that everything started happening with the gentleman that was killed and the violence. And she started to cry. And she said to me, it reminds me of how the people stood by when we were being marched to the trains to go to the death chambers. And these were our neighbors and our friends. And they looked at us like we weren't even human. And so I'm not saying this to be morbid or morose, but I think we have an amazing opportunity, because my mom said to me, have we learned nothing in all this time? She chose, even though she lost most of her family to the gas chambers. My grandfather was worked to death in a death camp. Before the death camps, in a work camp. But my grandmother and a sister and brother, so it would have been a baby aunt and uncle, were all killed in the gas chambers. And my mother actually survived, and one brother survived, and another sister survived that she had to rescue from the hospital in Auschwitz, which was in and of itself, she was so sick to be in the hospital, it was really very dangerous. And she carried my aunt on her back, and barefoot, after 18 months in concentration camp, when they were about to be liberated, they were going to be taken to the Tyrolean mountains and drowned so that they could remove the evidence that this had ever happened. And my aunt was sick with tuberculosis, and my mother had the choice to stay in Germany, where she would have in all likelihood passed, or leave her sister. And she did leave her sister and come to the United States. And the miracle, or one of the big miracles, was that my mother also had tuberculosis and didn't know it at the time, but it was hidden in the x-ray. So even if you were a child and you were sick, you were not allowed to come into this country. So she did come, and she was in a sanitarium for I think in the Bronx in New York. And you know, it's really interesting when we talk about the horror of the Holocaust. And I say that my mother has, and I don't minimize that. I don't minimize the pain and horror that people are going through now. But we have a choice when we're faced with these things. We can either buy into the fear and the horror and all of that, the nightmare of it all, or we can choose to go into those precious hearts of ours and to be kind and courageous and bold, to love. And it all begins with loving ourselves and forgiving ourselves. My mom has always said to me, you know, sweetheart, I hope it never comes to this, but you should always be prepared to take what you can carry on your back and the hands of your loved ones and walk away. And I'm not suggesting that that's where we are right now, but I do think we have the moment in this time of pause to look at who we are and how we talk to ourselves and how we treat ourselves, because everything begins with the I am. And it's been really interesting to go within in this time, being home, you know, in this time of being, you know, sheltering in place, and to look at all the little subtle ways that I'm unkind to myself. And I'm a pretty kind person, and I've been doing, like, I'm 62 years old, and I started meditating when I was 11, and I've been doing different healing modalities for the better part of my life. I treat myself very well. I'm very good to myself. I'm kind to others. But I began to notice little subtle ways. And I call it kind of like a spiritual residue. And I would really invite you, when we're done with the call or whenever you do your own inner work and your meditation, to really look at, are there any relationships in your life that ended in a way that didn't feel good, wasn't to the highest goal, whether it was a divorce, a relationship breakup, a friendship? You know, sometimes bad things happen. And there's been occasions where I would say, what I've been looking at is all of the things that I say, that's unforgivable. I will never forgive that. It's unforgivable. Well, who do we really hurt when we don't forgive? Do we hurt the other person that maybe did a terrible transgression? No, we hurt ourselves. Because forgiveness begins within, again, forgiving our own hearts. And one of the lessons that I've learned so wisely from my mom is that every day is a gift. Every breath is a gift. And so I would invite you during these times, there's so much, I almost call it, I don't mean to be gross, but I call it fear porn. It's like there's so much on the news, and people are so scared and they're so worried. That's why I chose the Root Bowl, because root is, you know, our survival. It's where we go to survive, that fight or flight, that inner feeling that we have. And so I would invite you to really dive deep into the roots of you. It's why I kind of took us and asked us to look at our breath as the roots of a living tree. And think about, it's not just this lifetime. Whatever you believe, whether you believe in reincarnation or not, on a cellular level, we carry our ancestors with us in our DNA. If you want to, I love all the woo-woo metaphysical stuff, but I also really love science. And the science is that We actually, when we're growing in the womb, we respond to sound before we even have ears. And so the reason that I mention this is that I've been looking at ways that not only can I be kind to myself, but how can I shine that kindness out to my family that maybe I can't see, to friends, and how can I shine it out into the world? How can I, offer my kindness and service to the world? And at least for me, part of what I do is I have a ritual uh, that I do every morning when I wake up and every night before I go to sleep. And sometimes I even do it during the day, like before we got on the call, Nira and Renee and I were talking a little bit, and she was talking about how she went on a walk and she was feeling vulnerable to the whole virus and everything, just with what was going on around her. And so I think that we have the ability to call in our own inner resources. I love all my instruments, but the heartbeat is our inner drum, and the breath is the breath of life. And we can, in a breath, if we rub our palms together and we inhale that aroma that we call in, we can, in one breath, bring ourselves to a place of peace. So if there is a situation, a family member maybe that's hurting, or a loved one, or maybe it's around career or work, whatever it is, I would invite you, when you wake up in the morning, give yourself a moment before you just jump out of bed to be in that sort of, I call it the in-between time. When you're sort of in dream time, you're not really awake, you're a little bit here and a little bit elsewhere. And just offer yourself, how can I be of service today? And at the end of the night, before you close your eyes, be grateful for this day. I have a saying that I use. I say, I am a creator God, and I declare this day complete. But whatever statement resonates for you, it isn't about what I say or do. It's about finding a practice that works for you. I remember I used to weigh, I'm 5 feet tall, and there was one point in my life that I weighed 288 pounds. And I didn't know, it was hard to move, it was hard to do a lot of things. And I thought, how am I going to take care of myself? How am I going to exercise? How am I going to shift this? And I started by doing things when I did what I normally did. I started, believe it or not, exercising in the shower by doing push-ups against the wall. I started looking in the mirror when I went in to wash my face in the morning or brush my teeth. And instead of looking for all the flaws and the things that weren't right, I looked at myself and I said, you are more beautiful than you've ever been. I love you so much. If we can extend that kind of loving kindness to ourselves, it becomes a lot easier to extend it to the world as a whole, to humanity, to the animals, to the planet, to wherever your wisdom lies. Because right now, we were talking a little bit about where we are in the Torah right now, too. And when people are in fear, everybody likes to think, my mom would always say this, everybody likes to think that had they been able to do something, had they been present during the war, that they would have been the one to save people. They would have been the one to act in the highest good. But when people fear for their life, when they fear for their family, they get a little crazy. And it isn't always the logic that takes over. And so I would invite you to be kind to yourself, to go within that lotus blossom of the heart in the world. And when people are doing things, instead of looking to blame, because we all, we have at least I know for me, I don't want to speak for everybody, there's a tendency to want to, well, if only so and so had done this, and if this one had done that, and we look to create a little blame game, which again, kind of like holding on to anger, it really doesn't serve anybody. So I would ask you, in those moments when the people that annoy you the most, the situations that annoy you the most, those are usually the things that we're complete with and that we're ready to let go of. That's why they annoy us so much. And when we do the sound journey, I'm going to invite you to do a little releasing, letting go of some things. And we're going to do it with some sound and some breath. But I just wanted you to think about how, when you find, again, it's like, I do believe that we're perfect in our imperfections, but when you find yourself, I don't want you to beat yourself up. Like if you do a ritual and you create a ritual in your day and then there's a morning that you forget to do it, don't be like, oh, I'm so bad, I didn't finish this and all of that. Just go, be the observer and go, oh, okay, I allowed myself to get rushed this morning. And you know what? You can pick a time where you can give that to yourself. Again, nothing will replace kindness. When I started working with AIDS, I remember I was on the subway and I was reading what people, just about what to feed people. And I was looking at doing whatever research I could find on AIDS. And a man on the subway said to me, "Why are you reading that stuff about AIDS? Do you have AIDS?" And I said, "No, but I cook for people who have AIDS." And he said, "Aren't you afraid that you're going to get AIDS? And don't you think that AIDS is God's punishment for homosexuality?" And I said, "No." And then I got up and I changed my seat because I knew this wasn't somebody I wanted to engage in an argument with. I knew I wasn't going to change his mind, and he most certainly wasn't going to change mine. But it's really interesting, and I think I told this story on when we did a previous session together, but I'm going to share it again because I think it's really important. When I was living in New York, Mayor Koch was the mayor of New York City, and David Dinkins was the borough president who later became mayor. But Mayor Koch donated a van to us so that we could, a bright blue police van, so we could deliver food in New York City. And David Dinkins donated the first $25,000 that allowed me to come on board and start doing what I was doing and to open the kitchen. And so, we opened on August 11th of 1986, I think. Yeah. And so here we are, almost 40 years later, still feeding people. But anyway, I had the occasion to be invited to Gracie Mansion, and Cardinal O'Connor was there. And Cardinal O'Connor was a very tall man, about 6'4", and he had a priest that was his bodyguard that looked like the Goonie from Popeye, the old Popeye cartoon, and he was even taller than Cardinal O'Connor. And people were like kissing his rings and following him around and all of that. And he came up to me, Cardinal O'Connor, and he took me by my hands and he looked into my eyes and he said, "I want to thank you for doing God's work." And I looked at him and I said, "Thank you, but my question for you is, why aren't you?" And everybody gasped. "You can't talk like that to Cardinal O'Connor." And I said to him, "Forgive me, I don't mean any disrespect." I said, "I'm the daughter of a Holocaust survivor, and I was raised that we're all God's children. And the reason that I ask you, why aren't you doing God's work, is, to my knowledge, the Catholic Church has more in resources and property and people, in the ability to serve the community than almost any other organization that I'm aware of." And I said, "We deliver food to homebound people with AIDS. So my question to you is, why hasn't the Catholic Church opened its doors to people with AIDS? And we talked for a while, and I don't know if it was my conversation. I couldn't tell you whether that was it, but 2.5 weeks later, Cardinal O'Connor made an announcement and opened the Archdiocese to people with AIDS. And the Catholic Church began being delivery centers for food drop-offs so that volunteers could then bring the food into the different communities. And the reason that I say that is sometimes with kindness, we can say something to someone that's difficult to hear. And so I would ask you to look at the opportunities that we have right now with the racist stuff going on and the prejudice and the fear and the hate that's coming up. Instead of falling into that, notice it by all means. My God, we don't want to just stand by and say and do nothing. But how do you choose to greet that? How do you choose to meet that? Can you meet it with kindness? Can you meet it with love? I love cartoons, right? And I love Dr. Seuss. And so a lot of times when I come up against, especially the things that like make me crazy, right? And I'll say, I picture the Grinch. And there's that time where they say his little hard heart got bigger and bigger and bigger when he was being loved and accepted. And so I think of these situations and the people like the Grinch, and how can we soften our heart? How can we send our love? And of course, remember always to ask permission. Ask permission of your higher self to love you and love yourself. If you're thinking about a friend, a loved one, a community, ask permission. May I offer myself, my love to the higher good? And I always answered yes, whether or not that person would say yes. My answer is always yes. But I would ask you to think about the ways that you can engage and love yourself and be kind. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just take us on a little sound journey. You can do it with your eyes open or closed. We're going to do just a little bit of journeying. Bells are often said to clear energy. So I'm going to start by ringing a bell, and we're going to go on a little journey together. Open your heart. Let your spirit fly. Open your heart. Fill your soul with love and light. I love you. I love you so much. Unwind the sands of time and drop the illusions I invite you now to go within, into your physical body, into your emotional body, into your spiritual body, and into your etheric body. And picture yourself as a young child out in the moonlight, dancing in the rain. Your arms are open wide as you twirl first in one direction and then in another, feeling the cool rain land on your hair and your eyelashes and your arms. And as you twirl round and round, a little drop of rain, like a precious jewel, a nectar from the sky, a treasure just for you, rolls down your nose, and you stick out your tongue and you catch it, and you feel the deliciousness of the magic. There's a little bit of mischief about, because you're not really supposed to be out in the moonlight dancing in the rain, but it feels so good. So you twirl around a few more times, catch a few more precious drops of rain on your tongue. You feel the rain landing on your eyelashes and your hair, and you throw your head back and laugh. And you run into the house, and you find your bed, and you pull the covers up over your head, feeling safe and warm, loved and wanted. And you know everything is possible. Allow yourself to absorb the sound on a cellular level, inhaling deeply, exhaling completely. And as you listen to the sound of the rain on the windows, you begin listening to the beat of your own heart. And you know that everything is possible. And I invite you now to go within one more time, into the physical body, into the emotional body, into the spiritual body, and into the etheric body. And see if you can locate any persons, places, things, an experience where there's resistance or pain. And if you locate these things within any of your subtle bodies, be it 1 or 2 or 3 or more, you remember that world that we created with our breath, with our circular breath, where the lotus blossom of your heart was open in the center of that universe? I invite you to dip into that lotus blossom and apply an etheric love balm. Take me away. Take me away. Sailing across the ocean. Take now to go within one more time, into the physical body, into the emotional body, into the spiritual body, and into the etheric body. And see if you notice any little energy hitchhikers. It's kind of like, even when we release with sound and breath and love, sometimes there's like little boo-boos left there. Kind of like when you have a bandage on a wound that's healed and you go to pull the bandage off and it stings. So go within one more time and see if you can find down to the tiniest little hair follicle a person, a place, an experience, an emotion that no longer serves you, that you'd like to let go of. And what we're going to do is we're going to inhale together, and we're going to release any of these psychic boo-boos, these emotional owies, be it with breath and sound, with an audible exhale. Inhale deeply and exhale with sound. And inhale deeply and exhale with sound. And on the next exhale, I invite you to be really silly with me. And we're going to stick out our tongues and roar like a lion. Inhale deeply. Now, when we release like this with breath and lion roars and laughter and sound, we create new space inside of ourselves. Choose what you'd like to call into this space. Choose peace for our planet. Choose radiant good health. Choose kindness, compassion, courage. Choose what you will. And on the next audible exhale, fill all the parts of you with what you choose to call in. Inhale deeply and exhale with sound. And if you can, open your eyes and look into mine. And even though we're not together in the same room, we are connected. And please know, I love you, love you, love you so much. Thank you. If you're feeling a little ungrounded, go ahead and rub those palms together again. It kind of creates some heat and brings us back into our bodies. Create a little friction. And when you've got some nice heat going in the hands, place them over your eyes or your heart, wherever you feel called. You see, we are so beloved that the fragrant wind blows through the trees who wave their arms and dance for us. Flowers of every color, shape, and hue drop their petals at our feet to soften the path we walk upon this earth. Be kind to yourself. Love yourself. And when you can be kind and loving to yourself, I invite you to share that with others. I want to thank you from the bottom to the top of my heart for sharing this time and space with me. You know, there's a lot of noise in this world. There's a lot of wow, 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 and there's a lot of fear and misunderstanding, but there is also a lot of love. Each one of us, we're generators of love. We can make miracles happen when we come together, whether we come together in a virtual room or when we come together in spirit, in sanctuary. Remember who you are. Remember that you have the ability to send so much love to yourself and to the world. And I invite you to do so. I'm going to go ahead and open it up now for some questions and see if anybody has anything that they'd like to share or talk about or has any questions for me. And thank you.
I'll share. Hey, hi Pamela, can you hear me?
Yeah, my other Pamela.
I was really very much moved by the story of your parents and your, what your mom told you about, you know, what she told you about the situation now, that she could even that she related it to the Holocaust. And what I kept thinking is it's been my mantra from the beginning of all of this. And there are so many people that are Jewish that cannot, somehow they put the Holocaust over here and what's happening over here, and they don't see how it's the same. And it's breaking my heart to see that. And you had me in tears. I mean, obviously it was so beautiful what you said. And I wish more people were like your mother, and I wish more people had the same message as you do, because if you look in the chat, you'll see that Peter Fox performed a song called By My Silence, which was written by two folk singers that we know from the folk club, and it's a takeoff on, I forgot his name, New Miller's poem, and the bottom line is that by my silence we give our consent, and I could send you a copy of it because it's really beautiful, and and the original song and Peter's song if you'd like, but that's a message that I feel is really necessary to speak out, to tell people about, a message. I'd like to hear that song sung everywhere.
Yeah.
Very, very important message that when we don't say something, it's giving our consent. Turning a blind eye is not what we need to do now. What we need to do now is we need to speak out. We need to use our words, and that's going to make the biggest difference. And you did that tonight with us, and I'm just so grateful. This was absolutely beautiful. It's just a beautiful combination of putting us into that meditative state and then hearing your message, because it was so much more clear in that place that you took us to. And thank you for taking me there, because I had a hectic day and I was all over the place, and my air conditioning fan started to break right when you started. It was just so perfect and just what I needed. And I thank you so much for bringing our attention to some very important issues, and the important message that we need to slow down, sit down, bring ourselves to a meditative state, and let go of the things that are keeping us from moving forward.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I appreciate it so much. And there is a lot of noise going on, and that was why I wanted to begin by bringing us to a place, because sometimes it's like it's just overwhelming, and chaos will come for sure. There's no doubt about it. But we do have a choice about how we respond to it. And so you can go off, which sometimes we do. But again, that's where being the observer is so valuable, because you can say, oh, the air conditioning fan is broken and I had a crazy day. I'm going to choose to sit and meditate right now. I'm going to sit and choose to do this. Like, you can go down that other road, and believe me, I'm right there with you. I do it sometimes too. But you know, when you have that tool, like you can maybe, hopefully, for each of you, for what Pamela's shared, when you find yourself in that wah, 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 where it becomes overwhelming, just try that. You know, we carry our hands and our breath wherever we go. So, I walk around with a purse with essential oils and all kinds of other little hoo-has in it. But, even if you just have your breath in your hands, you can stop, rub your palms together, inhale, and just bring yourself to a place of peace. And believe me, your decisions will be for yourself better, for your community better, for your loved ones better. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you were here with us.
Hi, Pamela. It's Eileen Grove. I just wanted to say hi. It's so good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
I've seen you since I left Banyan. So it's great to see you. I was so excited that you were doing our meditation tonight, our wisdom class, because I used to hear you. The only time I ever took part of your class, your meditation, is through a wall, So it was great to be present. And I too needed this so much tonight. Not so much of the wah, wah, wah of the world, but the wah, wah, wah of my heart, because I'm a therapist, and I had some very, very heavy, sad, emotional children today. And I left work so heavy. And so I had a headache, and I literally had a heartache, literally, physical heartache. And I feel so much calm. I feel at peace now, and I feel like I will, need it. I wish I would have thought to do something in the middle of session to calm down, to think of something to do, maybe, I'm always second guessing myself, but forgot I'm on wisdom class. The world needs more of this. People need more of this. And you're right, it starts with the individual. You can't give it away. You can't share peace you don't have. You need to create, I need to create my own peace, my own love, and my own joy, so I can pass it to it, pay it forward. And that was such a moving story you had. I had no idea about your past and your family and your history. I used to tell the clients of Banyan you were Indian descent.
That's the good part about when I travel. Everybody always thinks I'm whatever they are, so that's fine with me.
So thank you again so much for coming to us and sharing your wisdom, strength, and hope.
Thank you, Eileen.
Pamela?
Yes.
This is David Gelman. Towards the end of your presentation, I saw you with it's like a white light, heart-shaped light near your throat, and I can make out your not your physical self, but it's kind of the shape, the outside shape of your head and shoulders. And I was wondering if that has any significance.
Well, I would say that, thank you. That's a beautiful image to have a white heart, because white, as you know, is the rainbow colors of all of the colors contained, right? So the vibration to be inclusive of all the colors and to have the heart at my throat says to me, at least, that one of my soul missions on this planet in this lifetime is to share my voice, not only in song, but I write every day. I'm a poet and I write my own songs. And so I think that I really appreciate, because it's a validation, a kind of confirmation to me that I'm on my path, and that the value of the heart and the light at the throat is, you know, a lot of us are, especially not just, you know, a lot of us were told as young children, that the generation I grew up in anyway, you know, that we should be seen and not heard. And so many of us have blocked our throats. So I'm actually really, thank you. That is a beautiful gift from you to me, to that you saw that, because that says to me that this throat, this portal, if you would, is illuminated with white rainbow light. And so thank you. That's what it means to me anyway. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you for you sharing.
Anyone else? Would you like to say anything? Okay. Then I'm going to thank you, Pamela. I always enjoy being in your company, and I truly appreciate that you shared with our community your meditation, your information, and your heart, because I know that every time you speak from your heart. So I truly, truly thank you for all of us that you joined us this evening, and I look forward to being in your presence and company again, and hopefully, and sometime soon we can hug again.
Yes.
That would be the best, but I'm giving you another virtual hug.
Another one.
Just another one. I want to remind everybody that tomorrow at 7 p.m., Ann Goldberg will be on Facebook with a long-term member, Elaine Bloom. Many of you know who she is, but do you really know who she is? So please join Ann on Facebook on Mark Labowitz's page, and you'll get the opportunity to learn further about who Elaine is. And then obviously this week we don't have any services on Friday night, but on Saturday at 2 p.m. on Zoom and on Facebook, Michael Alpert will join us again. For those of you, I know Pam, you were there, Peter, last week when he did the History of the Jews Part 1. I look forward to Michael leading us again this week in the History of the Jews Part 2. And I'm hoping Claudia will be joining him on Saturday. And we will have music by Doug and Sim. They will be there. And so I look forward to seeing you all on Saturday as well. And you have the newsletter, you know what's next. We thank you for being here for TAO. Pam and all of you who joined us tonight. Have a beautiful rest of the evening and hopefully a peaceful and meditative one after this program.
And if I might, I just want to say, until we meet again, may there be peace in your heart, peace in your home, and peace on our planet. I love you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.